It takes an hour on a GYP cab, an hour on an ancient light rail line that every 5 feet tried to toss me out of my seat before I was finally out of the middle of nowhere Saratoga and reconnected to the network properly. The inlays in my skull flares to life, showing me at first the eyesore hollows the transit authorities put up intermixed with what advertisements they deemed appropriate. Mostly reminding everyone to be clean, respectful passengers, safety statistics on use of the new mag rail, and popular tours spots that as a born and raised Californian, I never heard of unless on a train. My filters sprang to life, melting away, AI-generated adverbs and focus-tested calming colors, replaced with slurs and more than one hateful or bigoted view of the world around them glowing in generated neon, interspersed by crude, 3-dimensional graffiti. Cycling through the filter, these melt away as well, leaving behind the pearls among the swine. Graffiti that was well made and beautiful, melding the old techniques with new tech, some even animated. A Yeti fights a Japanese dragon in the corner, looped in an endless duel. The aftermath of a missed connection found through leaving AR notes on the wall, closest to where they had been sitting while commuting like school children passing notes. An advert for a local watering hole using a blonde knockout. Her form compiled from famous starlets. She had the implication of nudity, her naughty bits censored by anime clouds. Degen notes were scribbled in a few places. Tips, tricks, and the odd rumor. Few out-of-date ones I moved down to a lower level for posterity's sake. Degen didn't work for corpos, not officially anyway. No permanent address. Little to no factual data footprint. We were the ghosts that haunted the ghosts in the machine. Why? Different, who you asked. Some were criminals, romantics, the odd nut job here and there. Me? I was once burdened by that terrible disease called hope. In my youth, I thought I had seen media changing. Death to the corpos and the sellouts who traded pride and artistic integrity for credits and hello to solo operators, making their way with skill and tenacity. I stayed in the game long enough to see the same old shit wrap around our throats. Happened to the Radioheads, as it had to the mixtape bootleggers that happened to the hard chargers of the new net age. Control and censorship comes for us all, least before it was regs. Now it was under the guise of not safe for advertising. Basically, we finally started saying the quiet part out loud. Weddings are fun, but they force you to take stock of your own place in the world. The transition from newsie to rogue data analyst was not a particularly hard one. I had always been good at the out-of-the-box thinking grunt work, which was 90% of the job. The problem was actually giving a damn about the data I sifted through for gold nuggets. It's why I lean towards jobs like the Amp Pyre gig. The Amp Pyre is a goth post-ironic black metal band, patterned themselves as vampires, bio-sculpted with pale skin and dark shadowy eyes that without the Depeche Mode-looking clothing would make anyone else look anemic. Along with the usual amount of enhancements of improved vocal cords and larynx amps, they also could split the lips along the curve and open their mouths monstrously wide to reveal shiny chrome metal fangs. Each pointy as hell, capable of injecting a combination of serotonin spikers and aphrodisiacs. Many shows a young, attractive member of the audience would be graced with the vampire's kiss. Usually a plant fully aware of what was to come, but on occasion, a true fan or groupie would be picked finding their way to the band's green room after the show. The gig was the collection then analyzing emotional data of the crowd to see if the bite was still impacting them then, as it had 3 years ago at the band's debut. The job was challenging, and the band over those 3 years wormed into my usual music rotation. Mostly it was just fun. After 5 shows, they gave me a tour jacket, said I was part of the road crew now. After 12, the veneer had been shaved a bit, but the work still kept me occupied. Turns out, seeing someone almost get their throat torn out over and over again does have diminishing returns. However, the impact was still within the range to be visceral. With my own flair for the dramatic, I pitched adding blood capsules and rolling the lead singer's eyes into his skull while he did it. I showed my findings to the band before my last contracted show, hoping it would free me. I still enjoyed the music, but everything becomes work when done often enough. The band insisted I stay for one more show and go out with a bang, incentivizing me with 2 additional tickets. The obvious choice was to invite Fox as she had introduced me to the band. Though, at the time, I had hesitated. It was the first time we had hung out since her breakup with the Mantis. To mitigate that, I told her to bring her, at the time, new beau Tom. The night had been great. Seeing the band's show through fresh eyes had helped. But it was how easy the Fox and I had slipped into the friendship pattern. The old jokes and references spilled out as if no time had passed. Then, like other maidens, she was beckoned to the stage for the vampire's kiss. Hands moved on their own. At first protection, pulling her away from the groundswell of fans and the teeth. Then the position changed to a more intimate one. My hands had gone rogue on me. One had fingers interlaced with hers, while the other was in the small of her back. I stared into green eyes. Without fealty to her man, old feelings had sparked once more. Suddenly I was much more aware of the red plaid miniskirt, her exposed navel, the plunging neckline of her fuzzy sweater under the concert light. Either by my own sheer force of will, or a sudden jostle of the rail car, I was back to the present with its hard plastic seats and slight ammonia scent in the air, mind full of regret.
It occurs to me we don't actually have a destination. There's plenty in the account to store us somewhere if you wish to continue to pout.
The words were pantomime with no harmonics in the air or chambered in my inner ear. Thought-to-thought transfer was how Kite and I communicate. It was represented as a hypercube with a colorful koi fish swimming inside of it. An unregistered AGI that had taken refuge in the network of sensory weaves, wet storage, and other toys I had in my skull. It was a Loa. I was its partner, its horse, its smuggler, its input device. The synth voice was to keep me sane. Any open gigs?
The Neo-Ukraine Commission?
Gov work?
It's what's on the docket.
I shrug. Gov work was a crapshoot, but I needed a gig. Any gig? A distraction? I'd burn the world down to run from the intrusive thought already whispering in the shadow places of my mind.